The call that shook the silence. My name is Emily Monroe. I'm 32 years old, and 5 years ago, I walked away from everything that once defined me: my family, my childhood home, even the city I grew up in. It wasn't some dramatic escape, no screaming match, no packed bags thrown into a car in the rain, just silence. I left Seattle on a gray, forgettable morning with a single duffel and a train ticket to New York. And no one stopped me. Back then, I was 27 and raw from too many years spent trying to matter to people who looked straight through me. I worked in back-end development for a cybersecurity firm with federal contracts, complicated critical systems that kept governments and banks secure. And I wasn't just good, I was irreplaceable. The kind of person you call at 3 a.m. when no one else can untangle the mess. But at home I didn't even have a name, just Derek's little sister. That's how it had always been. Derek, my older brother, was the golden child. Quarterback valedictorian, the one who made my mom beam in family photos. I was there. I was the one who got hand-me-down birthday cards with someone else's name scratched out and a new one written in shaky pen. The one who heard "not now" more than "how are you." I hadn't thought of them in years. So when my phone buzzed one October night in my Brooklyn apartment, I didn't expect it to be anyone from my past. I was curled up on the couch drinking tea, scrolling through open source repositories for fun. Then I saw the name Rachel Harper. Rachel was my cousin, technically, but she was more like the only thread that ever connected me to the family without making it hurt. She had my number because I gave it to her in a rare moment of softness last year, thinking she'd probably never use it. But that night she did. "Emily," she said, almost whispering, "your mom wants you to come home for Christmas." I sat upright, the mug still pressed to my lips. "Now," I said. "After all this time, they've been asking about you," she said. "Even Derek. I think, I think they might be serious." I didn't know how to answer. I hadn't been back since 2018. I'd missed birthdays, anniversaries, even my grandmother's funeral. I didn't forget them. I just didn't feel invited. I hung up and sat in silence. The kind of silence that wraps itself around you like a coat from your past. My apartment suddenly felt too quiet, too warm. My mind wandered to a different Christmas, a cold one, when I was 13, sitting in a therapist's office with my arms wrapped around my knees. "She doesn't need more discipline," the doctor had told my parents. "She needs to be seen." My mom had smiled thinly. "We love both our children equally, but love in our house had a hierarchy." Derek's version had golden edges: his achievements, his stories, his endless trophies and framed diplomas. Mine was quieter, a little too quiet, like the thrift store sweater I got for Christmas the year Derek got a car. The thought of walking back into that house made my stomach tighten. But something in me whispered to go. Not for them. For me. 2 weeks before Christmas, I filed for time off. I started buying gifts, things I thought they'd never expect from me. A real cashmere and a soft cotton ones from Derek's thoughtful, understated, just like me. My apartment in Fort Greene, East Orange Valley, a two-bedroom brownstone house that we bought with both. Just days before, we sat on the hardwood floor, surrounded by boxes, and Thai takeout laughter echoing off the wall. To Emily, we clinked glasses. I smiled, but a thought stuck with me long after everyone left. What if they don't even notice? What if I walk in and I'm still that ghost in the background? Still, I packed my car. Gifts, blanket, snacks for the road. I took the long way back to Seattle. Not in miles, but in memory. As I crossed into my childhood neighborhood, I barely recognized it. The houses all looked smaller. The streets are tighter, like someone had taken my past and shrunk it. I pulled into the driveway and stared at the old Monroe house, peeling paint, gutters sagging like tired eyes. The porch light flickered, same as it had all those years ago. I rang the doorbell with hands I didn't know were shaking. Footsteps, then a voice. Emily. My mother. A little more gray in her hair, a lot less softness in her voice. It's you, she said. A quick, stiff hug. You look indifferent. Inside, nothing had changed. The scent of floor polish, that dusty potpourri bowl, the pictures lining the hallway. Derek in all of them, me in a few always off to the side. Conversations halted as I entered the living room. Faces turned. Some familiar. Some pretended they didn't know me. Well, El Uku finally decided to show up, someone muttered. I was wearing tailored slacks and a navy wool coat, but to them, I might as well have been in pajamas. Then Derek appeared. Still tall, still smug, and with his hand on a glowing pregnant woman's back. Everyone, this is Claire, he said. My wife. And our little peanuts on the way. I smiled politely. Congratulations, he smirked. Still coding in the basement somewhere. My jaw tightened. I work in tech, I said calmly. Cybersecurity. He laughed, turning to Claire. She's always been the weird one. Probably hacking microwaves or something. Mom clapped her hands. Dinner soon, Emily. Put your things down. I nodded but didn't miss her next line. Derek's using your old room as his office, now you'll be on the couch. Of course I would. I placed my bag beside the worn recliner. Then I walked to the window and looked out over the street where I used to ride my bike. The wind pressed gently against the glass, as if to ask, why are you here? I didn't have a good answer. Not yet. Dinner was a theater production, and I wasn't in the cast. Derek held court at the center of the table, like he always had hands gesturing wildly as he talked about some revolutionary app he wanted to build. Claire giggled at the right moments, nodding like an adoring fan. Mom passed dishes like it was Thanksgiving, not Christmas Eve, and Dad nodded along like everything Derek said was golden scripture. I sat at the far end of the table next to the kitchen door. The seat that used to be reserved for guests we didn't know well. Or for me. Across from me, Aunt Linda leaned over with her wine glass nearly tipping. Your brother's such a visionary. Emily, she whispered, eyes shining with pride. He's trying to start something real. Not everyone can be so brave. I write enterprise security architecture, I said flatly, spooning peas onto my plate. For Fortune 500 companies. She blinked, then chuckled. Well, someone has to do the boring stuff, I suppose. Yeah, Uncle Rob chimed in from 2 seats down. Still looking for a dishwasher at my diner, if that tech stuff doesn't pan out. My fork paused midair. I smiled politely. Thanks. I'm good. After dinner, I tried to help clean up, but my mother waved me off. You'll make a mess. Just sit. So I sat. And I watched them laugh and share inside jokes and swap stories I wasn't a part of. It wasn't even anger I felt anymore, just distance. I was in the same room, but I might as well have been 1,000 miles away. That night, I lay on the couch with a thin blanket and an old throw pillow that smelled faintly of mothballs. The ceiling fan above creaked with every rotation. I stared at it until I couldn't anymore, then rolled onto my side and closed my eyes. Christmas morning arrived with chaos. Derek and Claire bounded downstairs like it was still 1,999, and Santa had left surprises just for them. Laughter echoed down the hallway. My parents followed behind with coffee and wrapped gifts, their smiles already stretched thin from nostalgia. Under the tree were dozens of gifts stacked high, perfectly wrapped. Claire got a bracelet from Mom. Derek got an expensive watch. Dad even handed Claire a check to help with the baby. Everyone clapped. Then Mom reached for a bag behind the tree. Oh, she gasped too loudly. Emily, we completely forgot. Derek laughed out loud. Just like when we were kids. Don't cry this time. Okay, I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I reached into my purse and pulled out a small brushed steel keychain. It caught the light sharp and sleek in the quiet room. I bought myself a gift this year, I said, my voice steady. Keys to my new place. They all looked at me. Wait, what Claire asked, blinking. I closed on an apartment last week, I continued. Two-bedroom brownstone condo in Brooklyn. Mom frowned. With what money I turned to her. From my job. I just earned a $150,000 bonus last quarter. That's after taxes. The room fell into a stunned silence. Derek's mouth hung open. My dad leaned forward like he hadn't heard me right. $150. He repeated. I nodded. Our firm licensed a security framework I built. The contract was global. Bank integration. Mom's voice climbed an octave. That can't be real. What kind of job pays like that, I told you? I work in tech, I said, calm as ever. Lead systems architect. I handle back-end frameworks and integration logic. You know, boring stuff. Claire was speechless. Aunt Linda's wineglass wobbled in her hand. Suddenly, Mom was all sugar and sparkles. She scooted closer on the couch and reached for my arm. Why didn't you ever tell us, sweetheart? We're so proud of you. We had no idea. Dad nodded vigorously. Derek, did you hear that? Your sister works with banks and corporations now. Derek's jaw clenched. Claire shifted beside him. I let their excitement pass through me like air. It didn't land. Then Mom added, we should visit you sometime. A family trip to New York. You've got the space now. I almost laughed. Family. I stood up and gathered the last of my things into my travel bag. I need to head back today, I said, glancing at the time. It's a long drive. You just got here, Mom protested, grabbing my wrist. Dad stepped closer. At least stay for lunch. We want to hear more about your work. I have meetings tomorrow, I lied. As I zipped my bag, I could hear them whispering in the next room. Soft voices, quick murmurs, the kind that never meant anything good. When I came back downstairs, suitcase in hand, they were waiting in a line by the front door. Mom had her brightest smile on. Derek stood beside her, arms crossed, trying to look casual. We were thinking Dad began about something important. Here it comes. As you probably heard, he continued, Derek is launching a startup, and he needs just a little capital to get it off the ground. Just $200. Derek cut in. With what you make, that's nothing, right? My face didn't change. Not one muscle moved. They looked at me like they expected me to say yes immediately. Like this was some obvious next step. Like their years of silence didn't exist. No, I said. The room tensed. What do you mean no? Mom snapped, suddenly less sweet. I mean, I'm not giving you any money. Dad blinked. But we're family. I folded my arms. Where was that energy when I was 19 and sleeping on a friend's couch because you said you couldn't help me with rent? We didn't have money back then, Mom said quickly. You had it for Derek's college, I said. He showed promise, she snapped. Then she winced at her own words. I mean, we thought you were better suited to work less pressure. I slung the strap of my bag over my shoulder. You know, I said all I wanted was a warm seat at the table. That's it. But you only notice me when there's money involved. You're selfish, Derek spat. After everything this family's done for you. What did you do for me? I asked. The silence that followed was deafening. I turned toward the door, not waiting for their answer. Don't do this, Emily, Mom called after me. You'll regret it. I opened the door and glanced back one last time. I won't, I said. Then I left. And I meant it. I didn't cry on the drive back. Not once. The last time I left that house, I carried a bruised heart and a duffel full of resentment. This time I carried clarity. Not anger, not pain. Just a knowing deep in my bones I had outgrown that place. Somewhere near Olympia, I pulled into a rest stop and sat on a bench overlooking a frozen field. The air bit at my cheeks, but I didn't move. I opened my phone not to check for messages, but to block them, one by one. Mom, Dad, Derek, Aunt Linda, Uncle Rob. Every name that had only ever reached out to scold, never to see me. Except Rachel. She stayed. Just like she always had. Back in Brooklyn, my apartment welcomed me with its quiet warmth and exposed brick. I curled up with a glass of wine on my balcony, watching the lights flicker across the neighborhood. Texts had started rolling in before I even landed in New York. Your mom says you're ungrateful. Derek is trying to build something real, and you're just watching him struggle, and the best one. We always knew you were selfish. Block, block, block. Sarah was the only one I let through. She called that night. Jesus M., she said, her voice low. The whole family's in flames. Your mom called everyone. Good for her, I said flatly. She told people you're rolling in money and refusing to help Derek. Of course she did, Sarah exhaled. She's telling everyone you forgot where you came from. Because the truth is harder, I replied. They don't want to admit that the girl they left behind actually made something of herself. There was a pause. I'm proud of you, she said softly. I swallowed. That means more than you know. We stayed on the line for a while, just breathing. No demands, no guilt, no games. Eventually, Sarah asked, Are you really okay? Cutting everyone else off. I stared at the city skyline, glowing gold and silver in the night. I cut them off 8 years ago, I said. This just made it official. Weeks passed. The story my parents spun kept spreading. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly remembered my number. Why can't you support your family? Derek's your brother. You're rich. What's the big deal? They didn't ask how I was doing. They didn't ask what it had taken to get here. They only asked what I could give. Eventually, they all got blocked too. I remember sitting at our usual wine bar in Fort Greene, surrounded by the only people who'd ever seen me, all of me. Lisa was across from me, arms folded and scowling. They sound toxic as hell, she muttered. You did the right thing walking away. You think you'll miss them? Nia asked gently. I thought about it. No, I said. I think I've been grieving the family I never had. This just closed the book. We raised our glasses. To chosen family, I said. To chosen family, they echoed. The bar lights glimmered above us, soft and golden. My phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. I turned it face down and let it ring. 6 months later, the city was wrapped in sunshine. I sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching kids ride scooters down the sidewalk. The skyline in the distance looked like it had always belonged to me. Sarah called once a week. She didn't ask for updates. She just cared. Jake's daughter was born, she said once. Madison. That's nice, I replied. And I meant it. I hoped that little girl would grow up feeling chosen, wanted, loved. According to Sarah, Derek and Claire were still living at home. The startup never got off the ground. My parents had turned my refusal into a soap opera. Every family event came with fresh tales of betrayal and abandonment. I was the cautionary tale, the ungrateful daughter who disappeared. Meanwhile, my life bloomed. 3 months after that disastrous Christmas, I met Ethan. We collided in a coffee shop near my office. He had glasses, a backpack full of sketch pads, and a quiet smile that reminded me of calm water. He was a freelance UX designer with a background in product security, and he got it. Not just the tech stuff, but the life stuff. He'd walked away from a toxic family, too. Understood boundaries without explanation. Understood silence without discomfort. We took things slow. Sunday brunches, long walks through Prospect Park, JavaScript jokes and design debates over ramen. He never asked for more than I was ready to give. At work, I'd been promoted to lead systems architect for a major AI security integration. The raise was good, but what mattered more was freedom. I had a team now. They listened. I was building something meaningful. My ideas mattered. I finally had the kind of life I used to imagine from a saggy couch in my parents' basement. And I wasn't alone. Then, about a month ago, it happened. Derek got a new number. The call came on a Thursday. Hey, Emily, he said, voice oddly chipper. Thought we could catch up. I paused. What do you want? He didn't waste time. Claire thinks Madison should meet her aunt. A long pause. Things are tight right now. Mom and Dad's house needs repairs. We're all a little stretched. I didn't answer. You don't even know how much I. It doesn't matter, I said and hung up. Blocked the number. Ethan walked in with 2 coffee mugs, noticed the look on my face, and said nothing. Just handed me mine and sat down beside me. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with applause. It comes like a breeze through an open window. That's what I have now. Everything they said I'd never have: love, success, security I had built with my own hands. Sarah texted later that night. Your mom's telling people you're rich and heartless. I laughed. Good, I typed back. Maybe she's finally getting it. This past Christmas, I didn't get any invitations. Not one. No texts. No guilt-tripped voicemails. No long-winded apologies masking fresh manipulation. It was quiet. Blissfully quiet. Ethan and I took a trip to Vermont, instead, just the 2 of us. Snow fireplaces, wine. We skied well. I tried read novels by the window and cooked in a little cabin where the only soundtrack was our laughter and the crackle of the fire. On Christmas morning, I woke up to the scent of cinnamon and fresh pine. Ethan handed me a small box, simple wrapping, no fuss. Inside was a tiny gold pendant, 1 word engraved in cursive: chosen. He smiled. You always tell me you chose your life. I figured it should have a reminder. I blinked back tears. Because he was right. Every step of this life was a choice. Every no I said to the past was a yes to myself. I wore that necklace every day after. In the spring, I got a wedding invitation from Sarah. She was marrying someone wonderful, kind, steady. She asked if I'd be a bridesmaid. I wouldn't walk down that aisle without you, she said on FaceTime, her cheeks flushed with happiness. Of course I said yes. The wedding was beautiful. An outdoor ceremony under a canopy of flowering trees. Everything is simple and honest, just like Sarah. Our cousins gave me a wide berth at the reception. Some stared, some whispered, none approached. Good. The bride and groom danced to Etta James. Ethan held my hand under the table fingers, tracing mine quiet and sure. When the music faded and night fell, Sarah and I found a quiet spot behind the catering tent. Just us. The fairy lights glowed softly overhead. I'm glad you came, she said. I wouldn't have missed it. She hesitated, then added, I think I might be the last one still on your unblocked list. You are, and... That's okay, I nodded. You've always been my family. Not because of blood, but because of who you are, she exhaled, eyes shining. That means everything. A few weeks later, I got one final email. From my mother. Subject line, if you still have any heart left. I didn't even open it. I archived it and set a filter. Anything from her address goes straight to trash. It was done. No dramatic final confrontation. No public blowout. Just boundaries. Just peace. Today, I'm sitting on our couch with Ethan, our dog curled up at our feet. The windows are open, the city buzzing faintly outside. I'm reviewing proposals for a Women in Tech mentorship program. I'm launching something I wish I had when I was 18 and alone. I think about that Christmas 2 years ago, the one that was supposed to reconnect us, the one where they expected me to open my wallet and close my mouth. Instead, I opened my eyes, and I never closed them again. Epilogue. They say family is forever, but what they don't say is that loyalty without respect is a trap. What they don't say is that you're allowed to leave when love becomes leverage. What they don't say is that healing often looks like walking away and not looking back. So if no one else tells you this, let me be the first. You are allowed to choose yourself. And sometimes that choice is the most generous one of all. It's been 5 years since I walked out of that Christmas morning and never looked back. People always assume healing is loud. It isn't. It's not a dramatic announcement. It's not proving them wrong. It's the quiet things, like waking up and not checking your phone in dread, like breathing deeper, like building something that matters, and realizing you CTO of a tech studio. I put two brilliant women who also got told to we didn't. We're better for it. We hire people like us, people who didn't come from we mentor, we sponsor, we uplift. And we don't want somebody to apologize for being successful. Even when we have a brownstone and we're there's a room upstairs that we turned into a library, a garden in the back, a dog who thinks he owns the block. We got married last spring, just 40 people, no family drama, no passive-aggressive toasts, just friends who knew the journey, who'd walked beside us, and who clapped the loudest when I said my vows. Sarah visits often. She brings her daughter Madison, the one they tried to use as bait all those years ago. She calls me Aunt Em, and she loves robots and storybooks, and asking me why the moon follows the car. I tell her it's magic. Because sometimes it is. Sometimes I pass people on the street who remind me of my mother, my father, Derek. For a flicker, I wonder if they think of me. If they still spin stories about the daughter who chose money over blood. Then I remember I didn't choose money. I chose peace. I chose freedom. I chose myself. And if I had to do it again, I'd choose myself sooner. No apology, no regret, just truth. After years of estrangement, a woman receives an unexpected invitation from her family to return home for Christmas. Years earlier, her parents had disowned her for refusing to give up her scholarship and career plans to support her brother Derek's failing business. She chose independence and was cast out, replaced by silence and bitterness. Now, a successful tech entrepreneur worth $39 million, she arrives back in the family home, curious but guarded. The reunion is cold beneath the surface. Her family treats her like an outsider, no room at the table, no stocking, not even her name in the Secret Santa draw. Only her cousin Sarah treats her with kindness. On Christmas morning, after watching them ignore her yet again, she gives each family member a box not of gifts, but of truth. Inside are rejection letters, court filings, emails, and proof of all the times they discarded her. And then the reveal: she's rich. Beyond their imaginations, their attitudes change instantly. Her mother demands help. Derek pitches a startup. She declines it all clearly, and finally, she leaves that day choosing peace over reconciliation. Years later, she finds joy in the life she built. She runs a successful company, mentors other women in tech, and shares a peaceful home with her husband, Ethan. She and Sarah remain close. The rest of her family never changed, and she no longer looks back. Her healing wasn't loud. It was in the quiet refusal to be manipulated again. The story ends with a powerful truth. You're allowed to choose yourself, and sometimes walking away is the most generous thing you can do.